All right. Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome.
Episode 6. We're getting the ball rolling right
Yeah.
now. We are catching up on filming slowly but surely. Once again, not in the country we're filming. Not in the country that we are talking about right now. We have long since moved on. But anyway, yes, should be a fun episode because a lot happened between the last episode and the end of this episode.
Correct. Yeah. So we get into Kuala Lumpur. Relatively normal flight. I know wasn't it a budget airline as well?
Air Asia again.
Yeah, I mean it was pretty chill. We get into Kuala Lumpur, pretty chill. We don't have to worry about spending bajillion dollars this time to get a visa. I know we just walked through the city with our bags, and we eventually checked into the Airbnb, which this was definitely an interesting Airbnb. This was definitely a memorable one.
Oh yeah.
So we try to get the AC working because at this point, it's really hot in this trip. I know.
You want to mention how
we'll get there.
Oh, okay. The late check-in as well,
Yeah. So we get in and we wanted to actually check in early, but the hosts were like, "Oh, that'd be awesome."
Right.
Totally. Yeah, great. No worries.
There's 30 minutes early.
30 minutes early, nothing crazy, and we're waiting in this freaking it's called I don't even know what it was called. It was called some random room. It was supposed to be dedicated to something else.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was some kind of children's room or whatever, but it was filled with all these random Airbnb hosts and lock boxes. And we're waiting there for forever because Liam tries, uses all the information he's given, and our key's not there. It's a different key to a different room, which isn't very helpful, I'll be honest. I don't know about you, but I feel like it's pretty useful to get the key to the actual room.
No kidding.
Yeah. So
yeah, you kind of need the key to the room you're going to. So that wasn't great. That was not a great start.
So we're sitting there and we're just what the hell are we doing now? So we wait for, I don't even know, 20 minutes because we're on data. You luckily have your eSIM.
I'm trying to message the host.
And she's like, "Oh, well, I'm sending staff down," and who knows what the staff is because clearly they're not even really doing their job, as we'll hear later. But we finally get the key basically at check-in time, so our 30-minute early didn't even matter. And we walk in, and like I said, the AC is definitely interesting. We spend 2, 3 minutes, 4 minutes just fumbling around trying to turn any AC on because it's pretty warm in our room. And
spoiler alert, the tropics do be tropical.
They are very tropical, but I have to use the restroom.
Yeah.
So I walk into the restroom, and this was definitely an interesting restroom situation. I found recently, and from what I've read online, that it isn't necessarily crazy for the bathroom to be soaking wet as a form of cleaning. I'm not used to that. I wasn't used to that at that moment either. I don't know about you, but I don't know if you're used to that.
It's not uncommon in India, just because the toilets are similar with the drain, and you have buckets and everything, and so most bathrooms in Asia to an extent have a drain. It's very common for it's not completely out of normal, but I've never walked into a bathroom that was soaking wet.
Oh yeah, it was soaking wet. It felt like someone just showered and dripped the entire bathroom on their way out as well. Not only that, I opened the toilet lid to use the restroom and I see a hair on the toilet. And at this point, I'm just what the fuck? We've already waited 30 minutes, and on top of this bathroom is awful, diabolical. I can't even use this.
It has some smell to it as well.
Oh, it smelled. It smelled as well. I couldn't even put a finger on what it smelled like.
It smelled like stale, mildewy water. That's what I thought it smelled like.
Yeah, it just smelled.
There was no ventilation in there.
No, it smelled awful. Yeah. So I'm did someone just shower in here? And was the cleaning lady showering? I had no idea what just happened. Did someone shower?
He was really mad about this.
Was it not? Yeah, I was did no one clean this bathroom? So I was very upset because I really had to use the restroom, and I was well, I guess I got to hold it now. Yeah. And now I'm scared for when we have to inevitably shower. Guess what? Those, scares or worries were definitely warranted, as we'll get to later. But that was our introduction to our lovely Airbnb in Kuala Lumpur.
Yeah, I should mention that, we spent $15 a night per person on this Airbnb.
That is true.
But this Airbnb was highly rated. In fact, it got the badge one of the best places on Airbnb ever. Everybody was giving it rave reviews. We're okay, surely this isn't awful. And well, we've stayed in some pretty great Airbnbs on this trip. Yeah. And, it was only a matter of time before one of them was a catastrophic failure.
Yeah, it truly was.
while Brayden is going on this adventure with the toilet and the bathroom,
Yeah.
I decide that, I'm going to be productive and I'm going to go do laundry.
Yes.
So, the first thing we do is we put the laundry in and, it's done, it runs its course. So then, I go down to the laundromat downstairs.
Because we need to dry our clothes.
Exactly. And I find out a catastrophic fact that the laundry machine is cash only. And, for me, this is devastating because I have a philosophy that I don't carry cash.
Yeah.
And, all kidding aside, there's very legitimate reasons for, carrying cash in these countries and also not carrying cash for a country that you're only spending, a day in.
Less than 24 hours. Yeah.
So, I am texting Brayden, bro, this is catastrophic, everything like that. You gotta go find cash. So I'll be back, right? I go on my little, I'm basically setting out on my own. I'm soloing this, William takes on Kuala Lumpur. And, I see that there's a bank around the corner. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'll go to the bank and, get cash. So I walk. And I notice that off in the distance, there's something concerning happening. And that is the sky is in a very unpleasant shade of gray. And I'm like, okay, well, surely that won't be a problem. Surely my, 10-minute walk to the bank won't have any, negative consequences of me getting caught in something, not returning to the apartment the same way I left. So I'm fumbling around with this ATM. It's not working. And eventually, I'm able to talk to the guard there. And he's like, oh, this ATM doesn't work. You got to go to the mall. And I'm like, oh, great. Okay, where's the mall at? He's like, oh, it's around the corner. And I'm like, great. It's literally right back the way I came. I walked by it on my way out. So I'm like, that's lovely. And, I love backtracking. And at this point in time, that, gray sky off in the distance is no longer off in the distance. It's right on top of me. And it is, being angry outside. And, I did not realize that I should have brought my umbrella.
Yeah. And meanwhile, I'm just sitting inside the Airbnb after being, completely pissed about the bathroom. I'm just sitting in the bed and I look outside and I see it's raining quite heavily and I'm wondering where Liam is.
Yeah.
So
and the answer was I was out in that.
Yeah.
And so, I go and it's not raining as hard. It's like showering a little bit. I'm like, I'm like, oh, this is actually pleasant because it's hot outside. It's, Malaysia and it's warm and humid. So I'm like, oh, this is actually pleasant. So I walk to the mall, I get the cash, and, within the 30 seconds I'm in the mall, in the ATM, the term monsoon comes to mind. And in fact, we are indeed in monsoon season. And, whatever deity is in charge of controlling the rain is really angry and vengeful right now because they are just... And I'm not saying that to be disrespectful to any religion. I'm just saying, whoever pissed Mother Nature off that day, really pissed her off. Because it's thundering, it's lightning, it's pouring down rain. And it is just my little 30-second jaunt back from the mall to the apartment is now going to be through, a tropical storm. And, now I'm soaked. Now I am completely soaked. I'm like, wow, good thing we have a dryer now because I don't have any dry clothes anymore. So, luckily, go to the laundromat, put the clothes in, dry it, that's fine. And the next thing on our list is we both realize that, like so many other days on this trip, we haven't really eaten a square meal today.
No.
And both of us are getting hungry.
Yeah.
And luckily enough, at the very mall I was at, there's, Northern Indian Pakistani place. Because in Malaysia, there's a large Indian minority there. Indian culture is actually pretty common and pretty influential on the Malay Peninsula. So that's kind of a cool little side note.
Yeah, it's a pretty big, melting pot, both Malaysia and Singapore, that area of different cultures. So, we try to have, the local cuisine at a lot of different places, but... some places the local cuisine, sort of like America, it's pizza, it's tacos, it was, in this case, one of the local cuisines was to get, Indian food in a sense. So, you don't have to ask us a second time to get Indian food. So,
good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. And it had pretty good reviews. And it was right nearby, which was really useful given the monsoon that was occurring.
Right.
So, yeah, basically we went next door and
brought the umbrella this time.
Brought the umbrella. That was
a game changer.
Game changer. And yeah, we're sitting inside the restaurant and we're looking through the menu trying to figure out what we want to get. And we're the only people in this restaurant. I mean, to be fair, it's probably 4 p.m., 5 p.m. It's not it's not like a happening time. It's also like a weekday.
Americans also eat earlier in the day compared to a lot of the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Like this is something you realize when you travel abroad. That's just kind of how it is. So.
Yeah, and, the guy gives his menu, and we're sitting there, we're looking at our food, and he comes back like 2 minutes later. We're still looking over our stuff. He's like, "So what do you guys want?" And we're like, "Oh, we're still looking over." And he's like so pissed. He's like so upset, and we're just like, "Dog, like there's no one here. Like I don't know why you're in such a rush to." Yeah, but he just gave that like look of like,
he rolled his eyes.
He rolls his like these Americans like.
Oh my god.
And we're like sorry because we're trying to like okay, do we want to split like the lamb like curry or whatever?
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to figure out what we want to get, like what we want to split. Eventually we figured out what we wanted and we ordered it. I don't exactly remember what we got.
It was lamb curry and
lamb curry.
Chicken tandoor biryani.
Chicken biryani, yeah. Those are both very good. I thought they were very good. However, there was something on the way out that might have tarnished it. Because I was like desperately using the restroom because I was in the midst of like a stomach bug that I had to get through. Liam eventually goes to pay, and on your way out, you see something quite beautiful. It kind of reminds you of Georgia Tech.
Oh, it does. You see, I saw one of my friends from my apartment complex back in Atlanta from the last semester. And I use friend in the most, liberal definition of that word, because what do I see climbing on the wall by the sink where I wash my hands at as I see a little six-legged creature with 2 antennas scuttling around. And, happens to be a brown thing as well. And at this point, I'm like, well, that's not great.
This thing would survive a nuclear bomb, right?
This thing could survive getting its head chopped off and still be fine. It's honestly God's perfect creature. I think it's God's perfect creature. These things are built like pinks. Yes, in case you haven't guessed it by now, I see a cockroach in this restaurant. Which, you never want to see anywhere you go because cockroaches are not great. And yes, my apartment complex in Atlanta this last semester did have an infestation of cockroaches. Yeah. All that being said, I cut this place a little bit of slack because it is in the tropics and insects are more prevalent in the tropics, and not all species of cockroaches are bad. It's only like the German and the American species of cockroach that are like awful. The other like 150 plus species are actually like okay and like pretty chill. Yeah. But still, you never want to see a cockroach or any insect really in a restaurant. So that definitely leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And I'm like, okay, well, I wish I would have seen that before I ate an entire meal here. But what can you do? So after that, we go back, we plan a little bit, and Kuala Lumpur is known for being a skyscraper hub. There's a lot of skyscrapers, and Malaysia as a whole, in fact, has built a ton of skyscrapers. And perhaps the 2 most famous skyscrapers in Kuala Lumpur, and 2 of the most famous skyscrapers in the world, are the Petronas Twin Towers, built by the Petronas Corporation, which is the Malaysian state-owned oil and gas company. So, oil money, building skyscrapers, what else is new? But they're really iconic, they're really famous, and there's a big mall underneath them. So, there's not really a ton of touristy things in Kuala Lumpur to do. The Petronas Towers are one of them. Mm-hmm. So, at night we go and walk around the Petronas Towers, and they're lit up, really pretty, really cool to see, and at one point in time, they were the tallest buildings in the world, surpassed, I forget exactly what year, but surpassed by Taipei 101, which is another super tall skyscraper in Taiwan. So cool
which
stuff.
Was then surpassed by the one in Dubai, right?
Yes. So
it's like 2 layers from sort of what we're used to being the tallest.
Yeah. Since then has been passed by it's not like the 3rd tallest building. There's other tall, which is actually one of them we went to. We went to the 3rd tallest building in the world.
Skytree.
Skytree in Tokyo.
Was it Skyworld?
Skytree. So underneath Petronas Towers, they have a mall. And of course, I'm a dessert fiend. I love dessert. I love chocolate. I love sweets. And especially, I love ice cream. Oh, ice cream is like my one weakness. Like, I can never give up ice cream. And of course, they have a Godiva shop in, this mall. And, Godiva is now combining ice cream and chocolate. I'm getting excited. I'm like, oh, brother, we got to go to Godiva and get ice cream. And we pay $7 for this small ass ice cream cone, but
we do a lot in Kuala Lumpur because everything's pretty cheap.
Yeah, this is expensive ice cream,
but
man, this ice cream was good.
It was very good.
It was delicious.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that pretty much concluded our time in Kuala Lumpur. We did go back to the Airbnb, and to its credit, the Airbnb had a really nice view of the Petronas Towers and all of downtown Kuala Lumpur. There was one building as well that looked like a supervillain lair that was really cool. It was like the second tallest building in the world.
Yeah.
That one looked like, like Dr. Doofenshmirtz's like Evil Incorporated and combined with like, freaking Lex Luthor core or whatever. So it looked cool. And it's like all lit up like at night. It kind of looks like the Darksaber from Star Wars as well. If you're a Star Wars fan, you know what like this Darksaber is? Yeah, it kind of looked like that. Imagine the Darksaber in building form, and you can kind of imagine the building.
But it's interesting. So that, as you mentioned, it's like the second tallest building in the world, but it's not like listed as a tourist destination like Petronas Towers. And I think that's because it's really pretty, but I don't know if there's like a mall inside of it or anything. I don't really know much about it, so. Yeah, that was interesting to see off in the distance, but not actually see up front. But yeah, as you said, it's a very skyscraper heavy city. So now we get to enjoy the showers because it's been a long day. We flew to Kuala Lumpur, walked around in the rain and everything, so we get to enjoy the lovely shower, the bathroom of this Airbnb. And I think I get to go first because I'm very tired at this point. I'm very tired, and quickly in the shower, I'm realizing, wow, this water really isn't draining. And it's really filling up. And by the time I end my very quick, short-lived shower, because, I was noticing that the bathroom was filling up with water, I was able to leave within maybe like 5 minutes, which is very quick for me. And I basically tell him, hey, have fun, buddy. Because not only is like the heat, whatever, kind of wishy-washy, but the water is going to fill up really quick. And now I'm starting to sort of understand why maybe the bathroom was completely filled with water when we showed up. Because it's impossible to shower in this bathroom without flooding the entire bathroom. So in the meantime, I brush my teeth, I get ready to go to bed, and I lay down. I'm like, hey, buddy, like make sure you have everything ready so that when I go to bed, you don't wake me up or anything. And meanwhile, this guy gave me a hot shower, whatever, and you get to enjoy the lovely shower. I don't know if you have anything else to say other than it also flooding.
It was awful. It was awful.
Yeah, it was
you did
awful.
a good job.
Yeah, no, and I'm just trying to doze off here, and I just hear the because this fucker didn't get his like toothbrush or toothpaste ready. He's trying to sift through and I get a flashing light in my face every like 3 seconds because he's trying to use this flashlight to get. Oh, I don't even know, dude. I was just like, God, fucking.
Yeah, that was bad. On my part, I was being a bad roommate and a bad travel mate on that part. I would gladly fall on the sword there.
Yeah, but I eventually fall asleep. You do as well, and in our small little shared bed, and we get up early because of the monsoon, basically, and just in general, the laundry situation. We didn't really do any sightseeing in Kuala Lumpur outside of the Petronas Towers at night. So there was one other big thing to see, which I think is the Bantu. Is it?
I think that sounds right. I actually did not write that down.
So I have it in here as the Bantu Caves.
Bantu Caves, yeah.
So the Bantu Caves, you might have seen an image of it, but there's a big like Hindu statue. Don't exactly remember who it is or what it is, but it's a massive golden Hindu statue that's right outside of these caves, which has 270 steps, colorful steps. Each step is like a different color. It's really beautiful, really beautiful. And we decided to go early in the morning because we had to obviously leave to our next destination, which we haven't mentioned yet. But we had a flight that was, I don't even know, like noon or something. So
something like that.
So in order to figure out like how to go there and then also make our time to like walk to the.
We didn't have a flight. No.
You're right. You're so right. We didn't have a flight, but we'll get to that. We had to get to our next destination.
Yeah, somehow,
some way. But in order to grab, from our Airbnb to the next location, which would help us get to our next destination, which normally is an airport. This time it's a little bit different. We needed to sort of start our day really early. So we woke up at like 6 a.m., I think. Yeah. And we get ready, we're packed up, and we hop out. I think luckily we kept our bags there because we were able to come back to the Airbnb, schedule enough time so that we'd be able to get back to our Airbnb, grab our stuff, and then grab our way to our next stop, which would get us to our next destination. So we didn't have to lug our luggage up these 270 steps.
Thank God.
Which we've done at this point in this trip, we have done that, but not that morning. Not that morning.
Oh my god.
And also would have been incredibly disrespectful.
Right.
The other interesting thing was there were a lot of people there, even though it's the crack of dawn. The sun it's not even the crack of dawn. It's before the crack of dawn. There is no sun out, and there are a lot of people there who are practicing, Hinduist or whatever.
They're Hindus. They're Hindus.
Practicing Hindus.
Hindus.
Sorry.
Yes, they're Hindus.
Practicing Hindus. Sorry, I'm very culturally insensitive.
You're learning.
I'm learning.
Two idiot Americans are learning all about the world.
But we noticed a lot of people with their shoes off. And the other thing is it's starting to rain. So we, in the back of our heads, are like, wait a minute. Do we need to take our shoes off to walk this entire place in the rain? And luckily we saw like one guy wearing sneakers walking up. So we're like, okay, we should be fine. Because we're also searching or reading.
And we're like,
doesn't say anything about taking your shoes off.
This one girl who recommended this place had her shoes on.
So we walk up with their shoes, which you never know, could have been incredibly disrespectful, but...
Spoiler alert, it was not. We were fine.
It was not, and we get all the way to the top, and there's basically like a large cave that you can then walk through, and I think there were a little bit of bats, sort of a throwback to Indonesia, but
a little bit further away though.
Yeah, a little further away, nothing terribly crazy, but once again, like even more very pretty, Hindu temples and statues and everything, and a lot of other practicing Hindus, and it was really really neat experience to be there, especially like in the rain in the morning. Like you can't really count on your hand really how many tourists are gonna show up to this place at like 6:30 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
The people were there were very much locals, and then it was us, so it was really funny to find ourselves in that sort of situation, but also it's sort of an authentic situation.
Yeah.
I mean, if we took our shoes off, walked into some of the temples and did a prayer, I mean, we'd basically be doing what all these other people were doing.
And I will say, once again, my dad was Indian and Hindu, and I am not, because I never learned any of it. So all of these cultural traditions and everything, I am very much ignorant on. I can comment a little bit about this and that, but it should be noted that even though I'm half Indian, I'm not Hindu, not because it's like I have some vendetta against this particular religion. I just never learned about it, right? So I'm like, we're learning these things about these Hindu temples together. Because
wow. And I'm white, so I know nothing about most religions outside of Christianity. I mean, you learn a little bit in the textbooks, but I'm very, like I said, culturally insensitive when it comes to this stuff. And, I'm learning. I'm doing my best. I'm trying my best. But I also have no idea what's going on most of the time. But yeah, we then grab our way back to our Airbnb because we have a bus to catch.
Yes.
Which is lovely because we love buses.
Oh, buses are my favorite.
There's no form of transit that we love more than buses. So we grab our way. We first grab some 7-Eleven snacks because we're starving, and we know we're gonna need to eat probably on this long bus ride.
6 hours or so.
6-hour bus ride. So we grab a couple snacks, and they're decent. I think I got like a banana muffin that was like okay, and I got some awful.
I got trail mix.
I got some awful apricot sweet.
It was like salted apricot.
It was awful.
Gross.
Awful. You got trail mix.
I got trail mix. Yeah. It was like small amount of trail mix.
Yeah.
But whatever, it was fine. And then we got something else, didn't we? You got a juice maybe?
Yeah, we each got like a juice, and it was pretty good, but we had to grab it pretty quickly because the grab driver was showing up, and hop in the grab, and we get to the bus station. And we do have enough time to get waffles.
Yeah, we had like these honey waffle things. They're pretty good.
Pretty good.
Like another mall near the bus station.
Yeah.
But
and we had some time because I think the bus was leaving at like 10 a.m. or something. And it was like 9:30, 9:40. So I realized that I didn't download, because I had YouTube Premium free trial. I realized I didn't download any YouTube videos, and this is a 6-hour bus ride. So I'm like, shit, let me try to find some Wi-Fi. So I go in and buy some random freaking fruit smoothie so I can use the Wi-Fi code at this place and download, I don't know, I think I was able to download about an hour and a half of YouTube videos, 2 hours. And Liam's meanwhile texts me like, oh my god, like the bus is here, like we're gonna leave without you. And I'm like, fuck, just give me like 2 more minutes. And we run out, and I try to hop on the bus, and they're like, fuck you, you have a smoothie. And I'm like, okay. And I try to come on again, and they're like, fuck you. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna throw this out. It was okay. It was an okay smoothie, so I wasn't terribly sad. But yes, we hop onto what was it, like Star Mart or something?
Something like that.
There's some like awful. All these buses, all of these. Trust me, when I tried to book this shit from Kuala Lumpur to our next destination, the bus, every single freaking company that I looked into has the worst reviews you've ever seen in your entire life. People getting stranded in the middle of nowhere at the border, basically, because their bus leaves without them. Just these awful horror stories. Like, oh yeah, just make sure you have a couple, like, you know, a lot of money on hand, just in case if they leave you there, so you can then bus from there to the next place. So we're hearing these awful things, and we're like, oh my god, and, you know, this place probably doesn't have Wi-Fi and all this stuff, and it didn't have Wi-Fi. The seats were actually not that bad.
They were actually pretty comfortable.
They're actually pretty comfortable
and clean. Like,
comfortable and clean. It was actually a pretty decent gig.
Yeah.
Minus 2 random stops. The first of which was like a bathroom break.
Yeah, the bus driver was just like, he stopped. He pulls over on the side of the road. He's like, everybody out. And we're like, really, because, you know, English is very widely spoken in Malaysia. I think it's one of the national languages, but it's also dialect and accented and everything like that. So, you know, we can't fully understand. And so, like, you know, half of us on the upper deck are like, you know, sitting here and being like, oh, we're not moving. And he comes up and he's like, get out, get out, get out. We're like, oh, okay. So, you know, at this point, like, you get out. And this is the problem with buses. This is why I hate buses, because bus drivers can kind of just do anything they want. There's no accountability. You know, if the bus driver wants to drop you off in the middle of the road, they can do that.
Yeah.
Who's going to stop them?
Yeah.
Who's going to stop them? Nobody is. So, yeah, bathroom stop happens, and, you know.
Luckily, we were able to eat our food because we weren't able to eat it at all on the bus.
Exactly.
So we were able to eat some of the snacks that we got. This is when I discovered my apricot snacks were awful.
And I tried one as well.
I think we got like some pastry or something as well, I feel like.
Yeah, I had like some type of bread, like, yeah.
It was carbs.
It was chocolate bread, I think.
Yeah, it was carbs.
Or raisin bread.
Oh, yeah, it was just like weird, like,
bread.
Yeah, it was raisin. We thought it was, see, you thought it was chocolate for a long time, and then I told you, I'm like, if you just imagine it's chocolate, it's not as bad. And you're like, oh, I thought it was chocolate.
Yeah, and then once I found out it was raisins, it was my enjoyment was severely dented.
Yeah.
Yeah, we stopped to get gas as well, and then we also had a good moment on the bus. You know, we've been traveling at this point now for like 3 weeks, and you know we had the airing of the grievances, and in a moment that would have made Mr. Costanza on Seinfeld proud. We had the airing of the grievances. Festivus came 10 months early this year because we started hashing out like you're doing this and this is pissing me off, and I'm doing this and it's pissing you off, and we had a heart-to-heart. Eventually, we had a heart-to-heart conversation about trying to do better and being more mindful of the other person, and this is the first of several of these conversations we will have had on this trip.
Yeah.
But other than that, the bus ride in Singapore was fine. I mean, it was a bus ride. There's nothing really to complain about one way or another.
Yeah.
And we get into Singapore and we figure out public transit. There was a little bit of a headache getting the subway cards because we needed money.
Yeah. I think we also quickly noticed because Grab / Uber was like $25
really
US. So we're
like,
quick wake up call. It is a lot more expensive here. But yeah, we were able to we decided, okay, screw this, we're going to go to the local subway system and use that to get back, which
once we got the cards was really efficient. Shout out, I'll just say this, spoiler alert, I really, really enjoyed Singapore. Shout out to the Singapore public transit system. It's wonderful.
Yeah, which the confusing part is I don't know if we necessarily needed the cards because we could have used our credit cards.
Yeah.
But it might have been charging twice as much for credit cards. I'm not exactly sure. So that's something to look into if you go to Singapore, because you can use your cards, but I think we were getting charged more per.
Yeah, I think so as well. And if you fly into Singapore like most people would, you can probably you can definitely get the subway cards at the at the airport.
Yeah,
like that, and they have ATMs. So yeah.
But yeah, we loaded
Singapore is mainly cashless, but we did have this for whatever reason. This is a trend we've noticed in countries.
Yeah,
where it's everything is cashless except subway cards.
Things,
because what happens is the subway machines, and side tangent here a little bit, but this is educational. The subway machines use local credit cards. So if you have a local credit card, you're fine. You can add whatever, you can buy a ticket, but they don't take American credit cards. They don't take MasterCard, Visa, which Now, isn't really a problem in Europe, but
Yeah.
whatever. In Asia, it's a bigger problem because MasterCard, Visa are not widely accepted there, or as widespread. So you need cash. So if you ever go to Singapore, just be mindful of that.
Yeah.
But we check into our hotel, and once again,
hotel is one way of putting it.
it's like a shared living space.
Shared living area.
We have a private room, shared bathroom. It's kind of like a mini hostel.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's like again private bedroom.
And to call it a room, it's like it's like a closet basically.
Yeah,
it's like a New York City like apartment that you would expect. Like it's a closet basically that just climb up. There's a bunk bed basically. There's like a closet and then like a small little desk area. So not really the most spacious of living arrangements, and shared bathroom, shared showers, which showers are on a different floor.
Like the women's showers are on the second floor.
Yeah. So we check in our stuff and then we're like, okay, time to get food. And we look into the nearby hawker center, which are sort of like street food markets, but instead of being on the street, they have their own like roofed building to them.
And they're like more hygienic and more sanitary.
Yeah. So
it's like a food court. It's like a food court of street food.
Yeah, it's kind of like a food court of street food, exactly. And there's this place that we wanted to go to, Uncle Louis Chicken. Now the problem here is that we arrived on Lunar New Year Eve.
Yeah.
So a lot of places were not open, including Uncle Louis Chicken.
Well, he was closing up when we got there.
Oh, I didn't even. Are you sure? Cause
he was. We went there. He was
up.
closing up. He was like washing all of his dishes. And everything.
Yeah,
And the man was there. He just was not. Okay. He was not serving any more chicken.
Yeah. So we had a quickly audible, and we decided to get dumplings from this one place. Very good.
Excellent.
Very good.
Awesome.
Very good dumplings. And then we also went to a different place to get this like pork
noodles and bao.
Yeah, pork noodles and bao. And that was also very good.
Also
quite good and reasonably priced. I mean, for like street food, it's not terribly cheap, but it's also in comparison to pretty much any other restaurant you would go to in Singapore, quite cheap. I think it costs us maybe like $10 per person.
That's another thing to note about Singapore. Singapore is expensive. Singapore is a very powerful economy, so this is something you notice as well as you travel around the world. Generally speaking, the more powerful an economy is, the stronger the currency is, and the more expensive it is to go there. Singapore is pretty expensive, but it was good food and it filled us up because both of us were getting a little bit hangry, and we were both like, we need food because sitting on a bus eating nothing but junk food for 6 hours is not great. But after we have our lovely feel, we're both feeling good. We're like, we got food in our system. Let's go out and explore. So, we kind of walk around.
We first we walked around a little bit. We went back to our Airbnb to figure out what we wanted to do. We figured out what to do, which is kind of quick. And we were like, okay, well, there's a midnight safari thing, but that closed at like 9 or something. And it was like 7, and it was like an hour away. So not going to do that. Obviously, there's Chinatown, which is where we were staying. We were staying in Chinatown in Singapore, which is quite a big area. Obviously, given it's Lunar New Year,
right?
Great spot to be.
This was a happy accident. We didn't plan on being in Singapore during Lunar New Year, and of course, the reason this comes up is because there's 3 ethnic groups in Singapore, 3 big ones. There's the Indians, there's the Malays, and of course, the biggest one are the Chinese. Yeah. So Lunar New Year, of course, massive in Singapore.
Yeah. And we looked into some things, and obviously Chinatown, as we mentioned, but there was also this place called the Clark Quay, or like even the Clark Quay Mall that's right there, and additionally the Marina Bay Sands, which is a resort. So these were all sort of in that same direction. You go to the Chinatown, and if you keep going, you go to Clark Quay, and you go a little bit further, you can get to Marina Bay Sands. So instead of just sitting in for another couple hours trying to plan what we're going to do, we're just like, screw it.
Yeah,
let's just go. And instead of doing Chinatown tonight during Lunar New Year's Eve, let's do it tomorrow because that's Lunar New Year's Day.
We also didn't really know when the main celebrations were. So we didn't know if they were going to be tonight or tomorrow.
And I kept Googling it, and I was like figuring out when the celebrations were, and it was always saying like the day of and all that stuff. So I'm like, I don't know if it's like New Year's Eve or basically only celebrate New Year's Eve and not New Year's Day at all, or if it was like a mix where you celebrate when it hits midnight, woo, and then you still celebrate the next day, which I think is closer to what it was, but there's nothing like midnight the next day, which we weren't sure about. We walked through, it was super busy. It was super packed. We walked through Chinatown.
Yeah.
we were kind of struggling just to walk through the sidewalks of the street. There were a couple events that we saw, like music event with a lot of chairs and stuff that we saw outside. Probably would have been cool, but we had other plans in store. We're on a mission, so we go to Clark Quay, which basically we just go in the mall.
Yeah,
which
it's a mall.
It's a mall. It wasn't really eventful at all. I don't know why we decided to do that. For some reason, we were supposed to.
One of the things you see in Asian cities a lot is malls are recommended as like big touristy spots.
This one didn't really live up to any hype at all, and we kind of got lost through it trying to figure our way out. But we stumbled on our way out and saw something quite beautiful.
We saw like the river, and we saw the skyline. Singapore is really cool. Like again, I will just gush on how cool and how beautiful Singapore is. Yeah. Beautiful skyline, super modern, super clean. Yep. And at night, it's kind of eerie. It kind of reminds me of like Gotham City because unlike in the U.S., Singapore is more environmentally conscious when it comes to cities at night, where a lot of the buildings turn off lights. Yeah. So the buildings are like really eerie and dark. You have these massive skyscrapers that feel very empty. So it feels very brooding and imposing. Yeah. But it's nice. It's a really great city. But it's a really cool vibe. Yeah. And we're walking. You see like the river, and there's these boats, right? In the river. It's like really pretty. And
a lot of like restaurants by the river that people were eating at. It was definitely happening that night. For sure.
And, we're wandering along eventually, because now we kind of know where we're at. We have our bearings. And eventually we get to Marina Bay Sands, which is the big, famous, 3-towered hotel resort in
Looks like it has kind of like a boat on top. Yeah. It's really cool.
And there's a mall at Marina Bay Sands. And this mall was incredible.
Spectacular.
There's like a river through this mall. You can like walk up on the roof, and there's like an observation deck where you have like beautiful view of the city and
free.
This is completely free. All of this is cool. I was in awe of it. Like I think both of us were just like in awe of this, and we're feeling pretty good. We're like, okay, this is awesome. Like Singapore, like great city, great country at this point. Like this is great. Like the river through the mall, that was crazy. Like I've never seen anything like that before.
The only thing would have been better is if we were able to get ice cream before it closed.
Right. We just missed the thing on that, which was a little unfortunate, but it opened up opportunities for later.
Yeah, because we then went to the gardens. Yeah, the gardens, which are kind of hard to get to. Like I don't know if we went some odd way or not, but we kind of like meandered around the grounds and eventually found a way to cross the street to the gardens, which had a lot of stuff going on. There's basically like 2 different like domed buildings that have like flora and fauna within them, which at this point were closed because it's like 10:30, 11. There's these sort of like mushroom looking tall like tree-like things.
Sculptures.
Yeah, really, really cool, really pretty. And then just the rest was pretty much areas you can walk through, like a big area you can walk through.
Yeah, it's a big garden, big park.
Yeah, really, really big, nice park. A lot of people running there late at night, but also just a lot of people just chilling, hanging out with their friends, walking around.
As we walk through this park, we start to notice there's a little bit more liveliness, and eventually we get kind of cordoned off. Like these people are coming saying like, "Hey, back off!" Like there's some very important. I think they literally use very important people coming through, right? And we see like this guy and like his entourage walking through. And we're like
family.
What is that? And we put it in the back of our mind. We're like, that's cool. But anyway, eventually, we're in like the more lively area of the park, and there's a bunch of stands. It's like a mini carnival, and we get this rolled ice cream and sugarcane juice for dessert. We do find finally ice cream, and it was good. I've had rolled ice cream before. I don't know if you've had it.
I don't think so.
So it was good, and you've definitely not had sugarcane juice before.
No.
So.
And both were pretty good. Yeah. Definitely expensive, but pretty good.
Definitely expensive. And as we're wandering through this park, we're now we've finally gotten dessert, and we're happy. We're happy campers. We finally go to like this big open area. We see like a stage. And
but even before that, we still hit another area with the entourage again.
Yeah, that's right, we did. Yeah. And, like he was walking, he was shaking hands. So we kind of like at this point figured out like he's some type of government official.
Yeah, and we asked the guard, we're like, hey, like who is this guy? And he's like, oh, he's a member of of the parliament.
Yeah, he's like one of the ministers.
Yeah, one of the ministers.
So one of like you could say like how in the U.S. we have president, vice president, secretary of like all these different secretaries.
Secretaries,
Most of the
secretary.
world has like a prime minister, deputy prime minister, and then like minister of like defense, ministry of like state, like foreign minister, like all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So basically, you can think of these ministers as like secretaries of departments.
He's like little Marco.
God.
Sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
But I think he was like good old JD. I think he was the deputy prime minister.
Yeah, he might have been deputy prime minister. Like he was up there. He was up there
he
for
was
sure.
important.
And it was his family, and they all had this entourage, and he was shaking hands, people talking to them, and it was really cool. But yeah, as you mentioned, we get to this main area, which is at this point a little bit later from what we saw.
Yeah, and it's maybe about 10 minutes to midnight, and there's all these people gathered around. And at this point, we kind of figure out, like, we see like the big clock on the wall, and there's like a performance going on stage, and we're like, okay, there's probably gonna do something like in 10 minutes. They're probably gonna kick off Chinese New Year, and we're there, and there's actually a couple of American students who are there. They're chatting. We hear them speaking English, and we assume they're on study abroad. We didn't ask them. But they're there, everybody is out and about. And eventually, the guy who we saw, the deputy prime minister, comes out on stage and, starts speaking.
Yeah.
And, he's like, welcome, we're going to kick off the Year of the Snake, everything like that. And they do, and there's a big festival, and behind us, there's the firecrackers, and it's really cool. And it's like, oh, cool, okay. So once again, we just happened to stumble into this event.
Yeah.
No planning involved whatsoever, which, turned out to be really cool.
Yeah.
But then we headed back. We walked back to the Airbnb after that, and we were both pretty tired because once again, we didn't think we'd be walking a ton on a bus ride day, but we ended up walking like 15 miles or so.
If we include the time past midnight. Yeah. So it was like, and I'm like dying on this way back. I'm like, God damn it! Like every day, I think we're not gonna walk a lot. I basically like wear like a certain pair of socks that aren't supposed to be for, and then I walk like so much, and then my feet hurt. So that was lovely, and obviously we basically had to figure out like the shared showers and everything. That was pretty chill. Just went upstairs and so we did that. Went to bed.
And
I can't remember. Like I'll look. I can't remember if I had a stomach.
Yeah, I think this is night because like the next I have it here. The next day is like it was a lazy day. And so like we definitely had a late start to that next morning. I think both of us are tired. You were having your stomach issues that night.
Yeah. See, I'm not exactly sure if I had stomach issues that night. I don't have a note of it, but we definitely slept in because we were a little bit jet lagged, and we went to bed, like 2 a.m. So we slept in, laying around for a bit, and then eventually decided to get breakfast.
We were trying to find this one dish. It's called kaya toast, which is
kaya
like
toast.
I forget exactly what it is. It's really good. Spoiler alert, but it's like this toast that is known in Singapore, and it has like kaya butter. I think kaya butter is some type of like coconut butter or something like that. You eat it with like your half-boiled egg or some type of egg.
They're half-boiled eggs.
They're not half-boiled eggs. They're like soft-boiled eggs.
Soft-boiled.
And we're going around, and all these places around us have kaya toast with really great reviews, but
But it's Lunar New Year.
New Year Day.
So
all these places are closed, and Google Maps fails us once again. It says all these places are open. They're not open. So, eventually we're like, well, this is unfortunate. But, we were slated to go to Little India anyway. So we were like, well, let's just go to Little India and get food there.
Well, I mean, the concept was basically we have like 5, 6, 7 stops on the subway before we get to Little India. Let's look and to see if there's any kaya toast on any of the stops. And luckily, the next stop, which was, I forget what it was called like Main Square or something. It was kind of like a big spot on the subway. We saw that they had the same store because there's like a popular chain of kaya toast. And we're like, okay, let's get off for one stop. Let's go to that kaya toast place, get it once and for all, and we're good. And we do that, and that one's also closed. So we basically...
was that closed, or was that the one with the big
No, that one was closed. No.
Okay.
At this point, we're ignoring, like, when you said everything's closed, we went to the place the long line. Like, there was one that was open and had a long ass line.
Yeah.
I skipped past that.
Okay,
like,
fair enough. Yeah, we need to get this.
Yeah, there was, So this one's also closed. So it's basically gone to, like, 3 different kaya toast places, none of which are an option, because the one that was actually open, which Liam alluded to, had like a 40-minute wait probably, and we're like, we are off to such a late start already. We're not going to wait so freaking long for kaya toast. And we're just like, frick it, we're going to get pastries because
when in doubt, pastries.
Yeah.
We're going to Little India.
No.
We didn't get pastries that day.
We didn't get pastries that day because we were trying to get kaya toast.
No, we didn't get, we went immediately to Little India that day because after we figured out that we couldn't
You're right.
have,
You're right.
Yeah, that was the next day.
You're right. I'm lying.
He's wrong. He's
I'm
yapping
lying.
a lot right now.
I am yapping a lot, but we did, we just said, fuck it, let's go to Little India.
Yeah.
No, you are completely right on that.
So, yeah, once we get to Little India, I see something that makes me very happy. I see Dosa Palace. And dosa is one of my favorite, Indian dishes. This is really funny, but we'll talk about India in a little bit, but there's a funny story with dosa involved. But yeah, I'm like, oh, Dosa Palace, we gotta get dosa, and we look it up, and the reviews are pretty legit. We go there, and it's an interesting experience because they sit us across from these two other guys, these two strangers. I've never had that experience before, anywhere in the world. But in Singapore, space is a premium, so they gotta do what you gotta do. Two empty spaces at a table, or two customers who are not paying to sit there.
True.
So they sit us down and we ordered dosa and lamb curry. I ordered the dosa, you ordered the lamb curry. Mm-hmm. And I think I wish we could post an image of Brayden's reaction to this lamb curry.
I can recreate it. I was like this.
This lamb curry was really spicy. I think up to date it was the spiciest thing we've eaten all trip. And
my throat was clogging up. I thought I wasn't gonna be able to breathe.
Yeah, he was dying.
I was struggling quite a lot.
He was dying out here. I was eating dosa and I was eating the spicy curry, and my spice tolerance is a little bit higher. But yeah, it was just really fun. I was proud of him because he actually tried it. Like he ate it, and I think you enjoyed it. It was when it wasn't killing you.
Yeah, it was good. It just was so freaking spicy.
Yeah.
But the food was great.
The food was
and
really
we got
good.
the tea. The tea was really
good. The chai,
good.
the solid chai.
Yeah.
That was that, and after that we kind of walked around Little India a little bit. We walked further around Singapore, and we saw just like some more daytime,
like Lunar New Year.
Yeah, we saw we went to some shrines. We saw some of that.
Yeah.
It's all really cool. Like really, just like this is like awesome.
Yeah. And there was a dish that we also wanted to get, or like a beverage that we wanted to get.
Yes.
Which the Milo dinosaur or the Godzilla, which I've heard great things about from relative of mine, Josette. So when she went to Singapore like 10 years ago, she mentioned that she would get this Godzilla like every night. So I was like, okay, we got to get this thing called Godzilla. So we find a local place, sit down, grab the Godzilla, and it's basically just like a chocolate drink. It's probably just like water and chocolate powder.
Malt powder.
Yeah.
Essentially.
And then it's filled with even more like chocolate powder.
Yeah, they put it on top of it.
Very good.
It is really good.
It's really good, but it leaves quite a mess. As we'll also talk about the next day as well. But it leaves quite a mess. And we also got this like mango thing. That was also very good.
It was like mango bingsu almost.
Yeah, mango bingsu.
It wasn't quite bingsu, but it was some type of like it was basically bingsu.
Yeah. So that was very good. And then I think we looked around to get like pharmaceutical products, sunscreen, and that was just hella expensive, like $20 for sunscreen. We were like,
and we decided not to.
Yeah, hell no. So
afterwards, you weren't feeling the best, so we went back to Airbnb, rested a little bit.
Yeah, we spent quite a bit of time, like 2-3 hours, just like relaxing at this point.
And it should be noted at this point, I was not in the best mood today because I had a horrible realization earlier on in the day that the train tickets that I was supposed to book to India did not work out. Spoiler alert, if you're booking a train in India, book it like months in advance because they fill up fast. And, luckily that situation worked itself out, but, alluding to the next episode, well, let's just say India is a little bit chaotic, and I messed up once again. Yeah. But anyway, so I was like, trying to get this sorted out, this India stuff sorted out. You were resting, so it worked out. But, finally, we're getting hungry again. Yeah. This is how much time has passed.
Yeah.
And, we're like, oh, well, our boy Uncle Lou.
Uncle Lewis, he's gotta be.
Oh, it is Uncle Lewis.
See, I don't know if it's.
I think it's Uncle Lewis.
I think it's Uncle Lewis, right?
Uncle Lewis.
Or our boy Uncle Lewis, he's gotta be available now, given that it's the actual. Who knows, right? Yeah. But we're like, we gotta give it another shot. And our boy, he didn't let us down this time.
He came through. And we had chicken rice. Chicken rice, of course, is one of the big dishes in Singapore. It's Hainanese chicken, which is basically boiled chicken with rice. And, I'm not doing it justice. It's really good. It had this really hot chili sauce with it as well. That's awesome. I really enjoyed the chili sauce.
I did not try that.
The chili sauce was right in my spice sweet zone where I'm like, it's spicy enough where I'm like crying, but it's not spicy enough where I can't eat it. So I was happy. I was a happy camper there.
Yeah.
But after that, we finally get our chicken rice from Uncle Lewis, and kind of decide, let's walk around Chinatown.
Yeah, because that was kind of the concept. Okay, it's better to walk around Chinatown on Lunar's New Year Day than New Year Eve, which we might have been wrong about. But hey, happy accident. It all ended up working out anyways. because Chinatown was still pretty happening. It wasn't completely like swamped, crowded, but certain streets were a little bit more crowded than others. And we walked down the streets of Chinatown. I know we got ice cream at that one place.
The name of it.
I forget the name, but
It's a chain.
It's a chain of this like ice cream figure guy. I don't know if I have the name of it on here, but yeah, I don't have the name of it, but. We saw it quite a few times.
Yeah.
It was very good. I thought it was very good ice cream.
Yeah.
We also ran into a establishment that is integral to the lore of our trip.
That's right.
Credit King.
Credit King introduced himself. And
Credit King.
I don't know if we've mentioned the lore before, but all these places like Uncle Lewis, Credit King, they're all like part of like our family tree.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll make an episode. Maybe we'll do like a D&D kind of episode where we like narrate a story at the very end of the strip with all the lore. But yes, the Credit King is our noble king who rules over the land of the credit. He's very reclusive, very late, like very he keeps to himself, but he's out there.
And his rival is Burger King.
Burger King's everywhere.
Burger King's
the opposite. He's not reclusive. He's in your face. He is like. You will see at Burger King everywhere. He is an egoist. He loves to, put himself out there.
So there's a lot more lore involved in that, including Colonel Sanders and a couple others.
Admiral Sports Bar,
yes. But we were looking also for these specific sweets, like a carrot cake.
It was not carrot cake. Carrot cake's more savory, but it's like some type of Singapore cake.
It's like some kind of like Singapore, sweet dish, but couldn't find it because, like I said, everything was pretty much closed because it was Lunar New Year. So we ended our night out a little bit early because we were kind of planning on being up to like midnight if there was some festivities, but obviously we were kind of stupid to think of that and ended up going to bed a little bit early, which worked out a little bit. I think this night was probably the first night that I was having some stomach issues.
Okay.
I don't know if I put it in my journal itself, but I think it was this night where I had some stomach issues where I had to sit down in the restroom for like an hour. 'Cause I was nauseous. I might throw up. Like I got to get out of here, head to the bathroom and just like sit there for like an hour to like feel a little bit better. And eventually I felt better and I hopped back in bed to discover that, Liam's taken out 2/3 of the bed. In my absence, he's like, oh, awesome, free space in this bed. So I'm like laying in the corner against the wall. And then he has the audacity to try to take more of the bed. So I'm shoving him. I'm like, get out of here. And the next morning he wakes up, he's like, oh, dog, you were getting upset. You were trying to take some of my space last night. I'm like, because you had 2/3 of the bed because I left. So that's lovely things that we go through here, living together.
We try to book Airbnbs with separate beds.
Yes.
Recently we've had separate rooms, which has been really nice.
That has been really nice.
A little bit of privacy and downtime. But anyway, the next day
got up. This time, Kaya toast.
We're on a mission again.
It's happening.
It's gonna happen.
It is happening.
One way or another.
So we go to the same place and it's closed again. And then we go to the other place, and this one is the time where it has a long-ass line. And we're like, fuck this shit. It's going to be 40 minutes. So then we determine, hey, we can find it on the way up. I know you might have heard this before, because that's how I got the days misremembered. And we stop at the local area nearby.
It's a mall underneath the train station.
And luckily, there's another Kaya Toast place that's open. Except it isn't.
Yep, you're right. It's not.
So we go to get pastries.
And at this point, we're throwing in the towel. Kaya Toast has officially won this battle.
Over.
It is so over.
So we're grabbing pastries. We're like, what looks good? It doesn't look that great, but it's better than nothing. And lo and behold, there's a separate Kaya Toast place right next door.
It was unlisted.
So
it's open. More than a moment.
It's open.
It's open.
It's open.
Yes.
It has customers. So we put our pastries back. I put the tray back. I'm trying to be discreet because I'm like, it's like I feel kind of bad doing all this stuff.
I'm sitting in the Kaya Toast line and we're next, and I was like looking at him, I'm like, what is this guy doing? Like he's like looking looking so sus. I'm like, dude, put the fucking pastries back. It ain't that deep. He's like, I was like,
because there was a worker like standing right next to the trays. I'm like, how do I like put this back without her being like pissed at me for like touching stuff and not. Anyways, so we get in line, we order Kaya Toast, and they ask for a drink because it comes with it. I'm like, Milo Dinosaur, but like. And you get your tea, right?
Like coffee, because coffee is big in Singapore. They have like 100 different ways of trying coffee. It's really good.
Yeah. And like I said, alluded to earlier, my Milo Dinosaur was quite a diabolical mess. And I'm in a mood right now because we've looked for like 3 different places to get kaya toast. Now I have this freaking chocolate powder all over my clothes and all over the table. And Lane was like, "Are you okay, man?" I'm like, "I'm fine. I'm fine." Like, I just want to eat this goddamn kaya toast. And it was good.
It was good.
We got so much egg though.
Yeah, like it came with like 2 of these
So
like
much.
soft boiled eggs, which one was more than enough. Cause like
So many.
I think the expectation is like you dip the kaya toast in the egg, which is fine. That's normal.
Yeah.
Then you like eat the egg, and the egg doesn't really taste like anything, so you kind of have to like put salt on it, and then at that point you're just kind of like
it's like shoveling.
you're just like it's slimy, it's salty. You're just like, I don't want to eat this. Like I think both of us came to that realization. We're like. We've eaten an egg's worth of this half-boiled egg or this soft-boiled egg. You know, we've had incidents with eggs on this trip. I think that's safe to say. The half-boiled egg incident, the soft-boiled egg incident, like it's all been a thing.
Eggs up until this point were sort of a bane of our existence.
Yeah.
Luckily, in the future, we were going to have a good experience with eggs, but we'll get to that in a future episode. So finally, we have kaya toast, and it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. And now we're on the way to our main destination, which I don't think we've mentioned, which is the zoo.
The zoo.
Not for the midnight, but just for the regular zoo. And this is sort of a relaxation. I know you were trying to relax, but in the back of your head, you're still worried about this train situation.
I was worried about the train situation. I'm worried that, because my... anyway, we won't talk about that.
Yeah.
I'm also worried because we have to meet my friend and the timing. We're meeting my friend, Wei Shang, for dinner and his fiance for dinner.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. So we tell him, like, we'll be back at like 6:45 or so, but I'm like...
chill with it, but it's still like, anyway, I'm stressed about this.
Yeah. So we're trying to enjoy ourselves. I mean, there's tigers and lions and,
It's a good zoo. It was a really good zoo, yeah.
It's a great zoo. And one little other tidbit was big thing, don't feed the monkeys. But a couple people didn't get that memo.
Yeah, there's wild monkeys that come to the
wild
zoo.
Monkeys.
And and the thing is, side tangent, this is me being, eco-conservationist again, don't feed wild animals. It's a big problem because if you feed wild animals, they start associating humans with food. And instead of being scared of humans, now they are comfortable with humans. And what does that lead? That leads to attacks. And when an animal attacks a human, that animal has to be killed. That's why bears are killed in Yosemite every year. That's why bears are killed in Yellowstone everywhere. Because people are like, oh, look, it's a cute little bear. Let me go feed the bear. And now the bear, instead of being scared of humans, is like, oh, humans mean food. And now cars get broken into and people get attacked and killed and hurt because people are stupid. So don't feed wild animals. I don't care how cute the squirrel is. I don't care how cute the bird is. I don't care how cute the monkey is. Do not feed wild animals because every time you feed a wild animal, you are signing that animal's death warrant. Sorry, that is my rant for the day.
Rip Harambe. It's slightly unrelated, but still, rip our boy. He fought for freedom. So yes, we finish up with the zoo after, people are feeding the monkey and just silly, but also I have a photo of it, like literally the monkey right next to the do not feed the monkey sign.
It was
eating
ironic.
fruit. It was very ironic. And we're kind of rushing our way out because we realize, okay, we're probably gonna be a little bit late.
Yeah.
Hit the subway, it takes a little bit longer than usual, but we get to dinner like 30 minutes after we said we were going to.
Yeah.
Which at this point you're talking to your friend.
I mentioned my friend. He was like, "Oh yeah, it's like." I had told him like later in the day, like earlier that we might be a little bit late, and he was chill. Like he said, it was chill. I was like, I don't feel like as bad, but like I still like kept my friend waiting. Like not great.
No.
And this was an interesting dinner because it's a cuisine called Peranakan food, which is like a cuisine that's like a fusion of a bunch of different types of cuisine for. Singapore. It's kind of based, it's like mainly Chinese based, but
also Malaysia,
a little bit of Indian influence as well, and it's really hard to get outside of Singapore. It's really hard to get in the US. Wow, this food was really good.
Very good.
There were some fish dishes that we had, and I don't think either of us are a huge fan of fish. This does not taste fishy at all. It tasted really good. There was like these nuts with like fish meat in it, and they were really good.
Whoa.
Everything was really good, and it was excellent.
Almost everything.
Everything was really good until a certain point. Yeah, we had this type of dessert as well, and my friend was like, oh, you didn't really try durian last time, like, you got to try durian this time. So he orders durian for all of us, and this durian's like it's like prepped up. It's got like coconut, like powdered sugar on it, and we're like, I think you and I we silently communicate, we're like, well, like if we don't like this, we're not gonna like durian.
Yeah.
And,
we don't like durian.
we don't like durian. Spoiler alert, we don't like durian.
It's so sorry if Wayshawn and his girlfriend are watching this, but it's really hard when you're prepared like a delicacy or something that your friends are like really hoping you're gonna like, and you're eating it and you're trying to let them know that you're trying not to tell them that you don't like it, but at the same time you're also like not gonna like.
Also, you're like, oh,
we're like, it's not great. It's on the good side, not the bad side. It was on the bad side, not the good side, personally.
I did not like it. The smell is not as bad as people make it out to be personally. People like I said, people are like, it smells like hot garbage mixed with raw sewage, mixed with all this stuff, and it's like, it's not that. It smells like overripe fruit, and it tastes like overripe fruit.
I'd say it smells better than what people say, but it tastes worse than what they say.
I could say it's an acquired taste. Like if I grew up eating it, I'd probably really enjoy it, but I just did not enjoy it, and neither did you.
I feel like it tastes sort of like an armpit.
Like it was not my favorite, but I'm glad we tried it. I'm glad we braved it and tried it, and it's one of those things where when else am I going to try durian again? So
we won't.
Yeah,
I don't think I will.
Maybe in 7 years when my taste buds reset or something.
Yeah. And the great thing about this dinner, I mean, it was definitely quite expensive because we're in Singapore, but lovely, like Wayshawn. We said his name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lovely Wayshawn, his fiance, paid for it for us.
So thank you.
Definitely incredibly thankful for that.
We'll be paying that forward somehow, some way.
Well, we already did a little bit, in a sense, with a future friend on this trip. Paid a little bit forward. Not a ton, but...
Oh, yes.
A little bit forward, and hopefully we will continue to in the future. Because that's the thing, this is not the first of family or friends that we're going to visit on this trip. Just the beginning. And it was nice to see, at least for you, to see a familiar face while we're abroad, not knowing pretty much anyone or anything for such a long time, except for us two. So that was lovely. And at this point, we had plans for our final night in Singapore, which was to get to the top of this Marina Bay Sands hotel and go to the bar. Because this bar is, according to Josette, is supposed to be free to enter and also has an incredible view of the city. However, I'm sorry to inform Josette and co. and anyone else who might think that it's free to get to the top of this, hotel. I don't know how many stories, like 30 stories, 40 stories?
Like 50, I think.
50?
Yeah, it's high. It's like a tall building.
Pretty high up. You have to pay. At least if you want to get to the bar. I mean, you can obviously pay some exorbitant amount of money to get to a hotel room up there as well. But the cheapest way might be to pay to get into the bar. And not only that, I think you can only do it if it's on a Thursday.
You mentioned that before. I'm still a little bit confused on that. I don't necessarily know if that's correct, but it might be.
Yeah, there was a sign that basically said, I read at a sign that it was open to the general public on Thursdays. I mean, that's all it said. So maybe it was dress code wasn't as enforced, or maybe certain other things. But I mean, still, we saw some people get rejected because they had open-toed shoes. So I don't know exactly the deal on other days of the week. Maybe on Friday, like you can still go. But from what I read, it seemed like Thursdays it's open to the general public. Don't know what that means for the rest of the days, but at least we had a shot. And we get there and we learn it's a $35 cover charge in Singaporean dollar, but still, basically 35 USD cover charge. Yeah. It's quite a lot. Yeah. Just to get into a bar. However,
it does include
credit for the bar, which, we were already planning on joking. I was like, $40 drink. Yeah. I might do it. And not exactly wrong. I mean, the drinks were, I think, $20 each or so.
Like that. Yeah, we got like 3 things.
Yeah.
We got each of us got a cocktail, and then we got like the Johnny Walker.
Yeah, we split a Johnny Walker. Is that
gold label?
Is it rum?
It's whiskey. Scotch whiskey.
Whiskey. Yeah. So we split that, and all of which it totaled to 35. But I think there was 20%.
Yeah, there was some type of added
service and whatever the heck. So we each had to spend like $42 total. But man, that view, the view
was
from the
really
top,
cool, really
beautiful,
and the drinks were good.
Drinks are very
probably
good.
Not worth $35, but if you treat it as going up to an observation deck and having a drink, then it becomes a little bit less painful.
Yeah,
But
As long as you're not ordering a Corona Light or whatever, or Modelo.
just saw one guy.
Yeah, I just saw one dude. I was just like, what
dude,
the hell are you
spent
doing?
$35 to go up here. I mean,
Yeah.
sure. But we also saw, on the other end of that spectrum,
Caviar.
if you wanted to get $800 caviar at this restaurant, you could.
I don't think caviar should ever be consumed, probably in general, but also definitely not for $800. I mean,
see, you and I are aerospace engineers. We're making money. We're not making that type of money.
hey, so the guy has a job. Speak for yourself. I'm unemployed, but yeah, I'm never gonna be making caviar money.
No, I don't think I
don't really want to be spending caviar money either.
$800 is a lot of money.
I could spend that towards my fees for the living at the hub.
That's
So
another story. Other time.
fuck the hub. Fuck the hub Atlanta. They scammed me $500
Oh
and
my
ghosted
gosh.
my ass. So anyone who wants to go to the hub Atlanta, fuck them. Obviously, U-House, cockroaches and shit.
Oh, you
fuck them.
cockroaches.
Sorry.
And on that note, we both had rants right now. Mine was about feeding wild animals. Yours was about awful student housing. This video is running long. I'm aware of
Yes.
that. So we will end this one right now, talking about the wonderful Marina Bay Sands
Yes.
club, bar, whatever. It was a great time. Way to cap off our time in Singapore, because the next part of the trip, at least the initial part of the trip, is, oh boy, oh so chaotic. And we will talk about that in the next episode, and we will finish up the next episode. We'll start the next episode by talking about our last morning in Singapore, and then going
Right.
on to the next place we were at, because wow, what a bunch of stories we have from this next
We
place.
do. Certainly quite the adventure.
Yeah. Anyway, that being said, thank you for sticking with us. This video was definitely a little bit on the longer side, but
They
we
all
want
are.
to talk about it.
They all are.
I think you guys can just expect a video that's an hour long at this point,
Uh-huh.
because we're both of us love to talk.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's Two Idiot Americans Taking on the World, episode 6. Yes, Singapore. I don't know what the
And
title
Kuala
is.
Lumpur.
In Kuala Lumpur. In the next episode, we're finally getting a little bit more caught up and releasing videos now. So yay! Hopefully this pace
Yay.
continues, because we filmed like 2 episodes in the last 3 days. Anyway,
Yeah.
I won't keep talking. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye.